It's Johnny A and Gregg Andrew Dellarocca.
Hello, how we doing, everybody?
Coming at you for the first AwayCast ever.
Woo!
We made it.
We did it.
We made it.
We
It's a
finally
long
got
road.
here.
It's a long road, but we made it. We're also joined by Mr. Joshua Hinke, straight fresh from PAX East. How you doing, Joshy?
What up, yo? I'm doing awesome.
That's how we do it. So, how's everything, Josh? Come on.
I am so glad to be home.
I want to hear stories from PAX. I want to hear who got drunk and passed out, and
just
not you.
Drunken debauchery, how it was just absolute nonstop, heresy from the moment that I set foot in Boston.
Yes. Well, it's Boston, so.
So actually, and this is really sad. My Friday was unimpressive because I flew in. I woke up at 5:30 to catch my flight. Got to the airport, flew in, and barely got to my flight, which was terrifying in and of itself. Got in, went straight to the convention center, hopped in a cab, and the cabbie turns around, and he's like, "Where you go?" And I'm like, "Convention center." And he's like, "Which convention center?" I'm like, "The Boston Convention
Probably
Center."
where everybody is going that is flying into that area.
Yeah, I was like, just look for the nerds and follow them. And so we get to the convention center. I run around. I'm getting to appointments. I got to play some just awesome stuff my first day there. I got to take an exclusive look at Saints Row 4 and play The Last of Us and Elder Scrolls Online, and just going from appointment to appointment. And I have no idea, there's exhibition floors, this towering monuments of games. You can barely find your way around. It's like a city in and of itself. And I get home and I'm like, okay, so I'll get home. I'll write up a few things really quick, grab some food, and then I'll go and hit the bars. And got home, started typing. A pizza was delivered to my room. I threw it open, ate it, and then just passed the fuck out. Right out to the bed.
That sounds amazing.
All right, tell us some more tales in a minute. I just want to start off by saying, guys, thank you so much for following us on Twitter and checking us out on YouTube. We really appreciate it. We know you were just doing it to get the free stuff that we're giving away, but
Swag.
we want to plug that real quick. So the lovely Kate is going to come over here and show us a t-shirt that you guys can win. This wonderful BioShock Infinite t-shirt, among other things. So let's just Kate, get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Kate comes with the shirt.
Let's hear it for
if
Kate,
you win
everyone.
the shirt.
So yeah, guys, keep following us. Check us out on Twitter and stuff. We're giving away a couple action figures, probably a copy of the game, some other stuff, bunch of other prizes and stuff like that. So just tune in, follow us, keep listening to us. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be
to us.
please
Listen. Please listen to us. We want to like us, please.
Let's run down, Josh. Let's hear about what you heard at PAX East.
Tell us.
What was the biggest wow at PAX East? Let's start off with something big.
Elder Scrolls Online was awesome.
It was good.
Yeah, I got an hour to sit down and play it. And the reason why I play Elder Scrolls games is the immersion and the world and just kind of exploring and having these kind of happenstance adventures. And
Yeah.
actually, that was exactly what happened. I got in and started playing it the exact way I play an Elder Scrolls game. Is they gave me a mission. And I was like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to do that. And started wandering my own way and stumbled into another mission and ended up doing something completely different.
So
and the guy
that's what's fun about those games, though. It's the idea that you don't have to do what you're supposed to do, and you get to just be yourself and just go around and just do whatever you want.
So how'd you start? It's a playable demo. How long were you on it for?
I did an hour and a half, and they ripped it from my hands.
That's probably because of the press pass. I guarantee that's what it was for.
An hour and a half? What was the line like?
Well, I didn't have to do a line.
Oh,
just dusting off my shoulders
Mr. Press
here.
Pass.
So you were there for an hour and a half. What did you get done? Did you do character creation, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, right from the start, character creation felt just like it did in Skyrim. I mean, race. You do have to pick a class, so you have to kind of constrict yourself a little bit.
What kind of classes do they offer? Same kind of stuff as Oblivion, Skyrim?
Yeah, I mean, you as far as class goes, you had Templar, Dragon Knight, and Sorcerer. And so they were kind of generic. They were a little weird. But as far as building the character, I mean, all of that stuff is just like Skyrim. Neck width, eye shape, you can stick around, do whatever you want with those.
That's a good thing, though. We like Skyrim, don't we?
We love Skyrim.
So, do they still plan on having stuff like the Khajiit and like all the other characters and things like that? Did they showcase anything like that in like video format? Anything that wasn't playable?
Are you talking like non-playable characters?
Stuff maybe that wasn't available for you at the demo.
Like what classes? I haven't looked much into online just because I kind of like when it's a full. I'm kind of waiting for E3 to hear about more stuff because it'll be more fleshed out. But
I know. I mean, they basically like I got to like play the demo and like kind of go through what they had, but they didn't elaborate on anything beyond that. I just like started out in Hammerfell, which is the deserty kind of eastern area. Mm-hmm. And it looked awesome. I mean, it looked like it had definitely a massive Persian influence to it. But I mean, the art, guys, holy crap, just blew me away. Like,
it was
especially
on a big scale. Like, was it on a large scale that you were allowed? Were you like going through a dungeon or something like that?
No, like I mean, so I did a little bit of both. I was in a dungeon, trying to free this like thief dude, who stole a gem, and that was really cool too. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in a second. But then, like, I also did some wandering around just in the world in general, and like in the sand dunes, and like there were rock structures and these like giant Persian castle-esque structures and all this stuff. Like, just looked awesome.
It sounds awesome.
That sounds sick. I can't wait to order Chinese food and sit in the dark and turn on my air conditioner and just get lost.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. So I'm pretty much set before we get more into games, because at first I didn't want to talk about games. Remember, it's a life theory podcast too, so don't forget it. I think I'm done holding doors for people. Living in New York, I feel like I've gotten I've never had a thank you. I don't think for any time.
This is a perfect segue from Skyrim.
I just wanted to say this. I wanted to get it out there because I know we were going to get deep into games and we're never going to come back. But I wanted to go here and I wanted to talk about it.
I knew something was bothering you.
You can tell, right? So every day I get out of the subway and I open the doors and I keep them open for like 3, 4, 5, 30 people. And
what?
Not that much.
I think that's your fault. I think that's your fault. I don't think you should hold the door for that many people.
Why is it my fault?
Because you should know. You hold the door for 2 or 3 people, and then it's someone else's turn. And if they don't carry the torch, if they don't take the door from you, then fuck them and just keep going, man. So you can't be nice to everybody.
2 or 3 at max, Johnny. That's as many as you like through. But then after that, you're no longer responsible for that door.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the number is 2 to 3. But then what happens though?
You have to look a guy in the eyes who's next, and you're like, I'm batoning this one off to you. You are the new door holder. You have to delegate that. How does that work?
You don't. If they don't know, then it's just that person's fault. Like if they don't understand that you've been holding the door, if they can't tell what's happening, and the door falls on them, and it's just the way that the world works.
What you're saying is I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong.
Well, it's your strategy. So this is my strategy when I'm doing a door hold. And I'm going to be honest here. A door hold is like 75% likely if it's a dude and 100% likely if it's a girl behind me.
Of course. So you got a 25%.
If it's a guy, I'll just throw it open and be like, hey, you get the rebound.
Right.
Man.
You do a toss. You toss the door. You get
exactly.
A nice
do you ever slam a door?
No, I mean, I'm not mean.
Yeah, well, situation
like
pending.
If it's a girl behind me, I'll walk out and then like kind of hold the door behind me as I'm really, and I'll do like a one look to make sure that she got through okay, and then I'm letting go. Now, after that, it's someone else's problem.
Now, what if, see all the consideration you put into this, what happens when she doesn't say thank you or even give you eye contact, like a nod,
John,
anything?
I think you're looking for way too much from this. I honestly hardly ever get thank yous from it's something that you do because you're a nice person.
I'm done.
You can't expect thank yous for holding the door, man.
I'm done holding the door. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. I think I'm just going to do what everybody else does and swing it open, and then as it comes back,
I think
it comes back with the inertia.
I don't believe you. I think you're still going to hold the door for people.
So, okay, moving back to PAX East here.
Wow, that's
that was a beautiful one-off. I loved it.
Was there a lot of door holding at
I just
PAX?
feel like I
Did
had
you hold the door for a lot of people?
The whole reason I started this whole podcast and did everything was because I wanted to have that one conversation about holding a door. I'm glad we have it done.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming today.
Thank you for turning in. Guys,
done.
Remember, follow us on Twitter, doorhold.com. So anyway, all right, let's get back into games a little bit here.
Okay.
So, Josh, tell us a little bit more, since Gregg and I are pretty uninteresting, because this weekend I helped my parents move furniture.
I didn't really do anything this weekend. I kind of just bummed around and
Gregg, you mixed our beautiful song at the beginning of our podcast.
The intro song. I did that yesterday. It came out.
That's impressive.
It came out fine.
Greg,
Josh, you didn't even hear it yet. Josh, you didn't even hear it yet.
In this song, okay. Just Josh, so you know, like when you were playing the intro song, I imagined a song in my head that I was kind of singing to myself.
Thank you.
So
it was good.
Let's hope it's better than that.
I hope so.
For those of you who don't know, Josh, I think I might have said it earlier, he's on Skype, but we told you that he's actually just this fictitious dude who lies about everything, and he just sits here and pretty much makes us look stupid. Yeah. Right, Josh? Hal?
Yeah, no, exactly. I am just here to give false information.
Smart AI. There we go. So going back to our robot friend, Josh. Next up, moving away from... I don't want to get too stuck because I know we have to get a big BioShock segment to get through. But what's next on the list? Elder Scrolls, throw it out the window for now. What was next?
So I played the Last of Us demo. That was cool. That game is very, very different than what I think people will expect of it. There is obviously it looks different than Uncharted. It feels different than Uncharted. Just by looking at the trailer, you can see that. But the combat is so different than Uncharted. I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. It's so much more planned. It's survival horror. I mean, that's what it really is, in that sense where you have very few things that you can use to get through stuff, and you have to very distinctly plan how you're going to use the materials you have around you. So,
what was that game that came out? I Am Alive. Does it have some elements from that downloadable title? What would you compare it to aside from Uncharted? Because obviously it's Naughty Dog. The art style is similar in certain aspects. What other game would you hybrid it with Uncharted?
That's a really good question. Oh man, I'm Alive isn't a terrible comparison. I'm just kind of in that whole survival dark horror aspect.
How about a classic Resident Evil?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the cheap comparison would be
Greg, that was cheap.
Of course.
Sorry,
that was cheap, Greg.
I'm looking for one of those games again, man.
I miss those games.
I miss those old Resident Evil games.
I think you'll really enjoy this for that reason. The one reason why it's not Resident Evil is even in Resident Evil, you can load up on some decent ammo and sit there and peg zombies from a distance.
Yeah.
With this one, I had I think I found a total of 10 bullets throughout the entire.
Oh wow.
Well, I think Greg's talking Resident Evil 1 too. I don't think we're talking.
Yeah, I'm talking back when you were solving puzzles and it was taking weeks and weeks to beat the game.
And you weren't Michael Baying through helicopter crash sequences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what did you get to play? Tell us a little bit about the demo that they had. Did you play, or was it just you said you played it?
No, I played. I actually got to play it.
So tell us about it.
Started off on this campsite with Joel, who you're playing as. So when I say me, I mean Joel. Ellie and Tess, who is the third character in this. She's in the trailer. And then kind of had to navigate my way through this series of buildings to try and get to the end goal. And it was very nondescript as to what exactly was going on, why you were going through this building. But the coolest thing about it is that every time that you see one of the infected, I mean just one, it's unnerving. You're like, oh God, okay, all right, now how am I going to get through this? Okay, I'm going to throw this thing over here. It'll start going that direction. And now I'm going to sneak over here. Now I'm going to hop up on this thing. Did it see me? Okay. We're all good.
So I remember, I'm sorry to cut you off. I remember seeing some gameplay footage of the clickers. And did you encounter any of those? Any different enemy types that you encountered? Because it didn't seem like, I don't want to compare it to anything I do Zombie U a little bit, where it's you kind of almost have to prepare yourself. You see them in the distance and you kind of have to, all right, let me ready my inventory. Let me get my stuff together. Now I'm going to approach it this way. Do you have time to think like that?
Yeah. And that's actually a pretty good comparison. And because the next room I came into, so you have this listen ability where you can hold R2 and basically it'll show you where all the clickers are around you. And so after this one, I got past this one and I was like, all right, good job, Josh. You're doing good. And I get to the next room and I sneak around this corner and, there's some dialogue there and they're like, oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And I'm like, oh, crap. And I hold R2 to listen to the room and there's 5 of these things. And I'm like, what? How do I do this?
So how do you approach that then? Can you sneak by somehow?
And you can't, like, I mean, that's kind of the fun thing, is that there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And I tried a lot of different things out, you know, like I tried to distract a couple of them and like sneak up behind to try and like shiv them in the back of the neck, but I kept getting spotted. And you get caught by one of the like, so there's like multiple stages of progression to the clickers. And the earliest stage, they're still pretty human. So you can, you know, just beat the crap out of them, like physically attack them. But if you go fisticuffs with a like regular, like a fully infected clicker, they just one hit and you're dead. So it's super hardcore.
That's
like,
good, because
when these things touch you, you're done.
It builds in the suspense mechanic. It doesn't really have to rely on anything else except gameplay for that. So what was the combat like in terms of, you don't have to get too specific about controls, but how did it feel?
It was visceral. I mean, that was the best part about it, was like, you know, like we talked about Uncharted. And Uncharted, you kill 14 things and, you know, you don't really think about it. You're just killing these guys.
Right.
But even these half-infected people, like I was wincing as like I was punching these guys, because like the camera like jolts itself and you hear this like smack of skin on skin, and you know, just like this, and Joel's like screaming as he's punching these guys. And then I got a bat and I was able to like upgrade it to like with a barbed wire around it. And like you hear that and you're just like, oh, like you're just wrecking stuff.
Like dying in Tomb Raider, like Lara taking a spike through the chin.
Yeah, that same type of like, oh god, like, yeah, it was really cool. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a great game.
It sounds fun. When's the release for that again?
June. I think I want to say June 13th, early to mid June.
Cool. So let's get away from.
It's actually June 14th. It's coming out.
June 14th. Yeah. So don't June quote 14th. Us. I can imagine people already writing comments on our shit saying we're retarded. So, how was the show in general? To break away from the demos and stuff like that, how was the show? Did you end up meeting anybody? Anything cool? Any good networking?
I think that was kind of the best part about it, is like, I mean, going to one of these conferences, the best thing that, like, this kind of sums up the experience in general. I was flying on my way back and like I was waiting for my flight, just sitting there. And I had my Vita out and I was playing my Vita, and this guy came over and sat next to me, and he had a Borderlands hat on. So we knew we were a kindred spirit, and he used to sit next to me and he's like, so you just come from PAX? And like we talked for like an hour and a half about what we had seen, what we liked, games in general. And you can have that experience at the drop of a hat at PAX. Like, I mean, you just like anyone who's sitting around just talking about games, you know, want to talk to you. They'll talk to anyone. You just walk up to people and start talking about something, and you know, they'll have a full conversation. It was really cool.
You're making me and a lot of other people that are listening jealous that we don't live in a world like that. One single tear.
It's actually like, now that I've come back to reality, like I was on the train on the way home and I was like, man, no one here wants to talk video games with me.
Got to go to work tomorrow. Nobody has any idea about my secret life.
Yeah, I'm going to like go to work and be like, so who here is, you know, really excited about Assassin's Creed 4? And everyone's going to be like, what are you talking about?
You're that guy.
Yeah. So but yeah, it was cool.
Aside from PAX, Josh, what have you been playing lately? You said you're playing Vita.
I actually just downloaded Mortal Kombat onto my Vita. There's kind of a weird connection there. I just recently got excited for Injustice: Gods Among Us, which is the DC fighting game from NetherRealm. Mm-hmm. And so I like started writing an article about that in general. And that got me into like, oh man, I should really go back and play Mortal Kombat on Vita, because I've never done it. I've played a lot of Mortal Kombats, but not that one. And it's okay. There are pluses and minuses to it. But there's a comic for Injustice that everyone should read. It's so good. It's so good.
Who wrote it? Like, do you know who the artist was or anything like that? I'm not a big DC guy. That's the whole thing. I'm more Marvel.
Yeah, and most people are. Tim something, man. I'm so sorry to the people who wrote this comic, because they deserve to be called out here. But I
didn't mean to put you on the spot to rip names out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so cool. Like, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but just go read it. Just even if you're not into games, go read it. It's so cool.
Did they have an Injustice playable demo at PAX?
No, and I looked for it. I was like read the comic on my way out to PAX. Like I was on the plane reading it. So when I got there, I was like, oh man, they got to have this demo somewhere, and like scoured the floor. Nothing, not at all.
Well, that release isn't too far off, right? Because they have a pretty close to finished build, I think.
Yeah, that's the third Tuesday in April is when you can get that. I don't know what that date is, but third Tuesday.
I don't know if I'm ready for another fighter. I always end up buying, like, I bought Street Fighter, I played it for a while, and then as soon as like the single player wore off, I never got good enough to play online. I played online with Mortal Kombat a little bit, got okay at it, but then I just dipped off after a while. Like, those games don't retain longevity for me. I wish they did.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And I'm not a big social gamer anyways. Like, I'm much more likely to just, with this Mortal Kombat, I'll probably play through the story. Maybe I'll do some of like the ladder tournaments, like in the like solo game. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine like playing people online with my Vita. That being said, I highly doubt there's anyone around me that I could play online with my Vita. So
I think subconsciously when I play fighting games, I dislike them after a while because I can't, my brain can't play them subconsciously anymore because I don't get good. I can never get good at fighting games. So fighting games and sports games, like I just can't.
It's repetitive for me. It's kind of a repetitive thing. It's just like, how many times can you do this?
I think fighting games for me was a thing of my childhood past when you actually had a friend come over.
Yeah.
Like play a little MK. He does a fatality on you. You yell at each other.
You beat your friends.
Exactly.
That's it. You just want to beat your friends.
Little babality.
There's people online who are just too damn good. It's not even fun to play.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
They're so good.
One of my best like fighting game memories is when like 8 of my friends got together and we had a Tekken tournament, and we actually had to like hand draw the bracket for our Tekken tournament.
I used to get a lot of shit for playing Tekken because I played as Eddie Guardo, and a lot of people don't like Eddie Guardo.
Why?
Because he just he does a lot of the same shit over there, little legs,
breakdance,
a lot of breakdancing, and
yeah,
I do be kind of cheap, but I feel
there's
like
hate for Eddie.
But you know what? I won a lot.
The only combos I can ever get down was Paul, and I hated his hair.
Paul is like the Eddie with fists. Paul is the same thing as Eddie, but with his hands.
But his leather jacket is sick. Like,
yeah, he's got some cool hair too.
So no, I don't like. See, that's the thing. I don't like his hair. I think his hair is stupid.
At the time, it was good hair.
It's like Guile hair, but like taller.
At the time
and thinner.
that it came out, the hair was good.
That hair was never good.
Okay.
What Tekken are you talking about, Josh?
This would have been Tekken Tag Tournament 1, so we're talking circa 2004, I think.
Okay.
Wow.
That's a more recent.
Was that when Yoshimitsu had his like 15th costume, 30th costume? They changed him 10, 15 times?
Stop me if I'm wrong here. Am I remembering correctly that there was a giant panda you could play as in
Kuma.
the game?
Wasn't it Kuma?
Are you thinking of...
No, Akuma is Street Fighter. Yeah. Kuma is the bear from Tekken.
Yeah.
He might have been...
You could do that. You could do a belly bump with him.
And a bear hug. But you can be the panda version, the skin of him.
They had some weird characters. They had like the
wood
guy? Yeah, the wood guy.
I knew you were going to say
Who's
that.
That's wood
right.
Guy?
That's right.
He was like a soup. You had to unlock everybody, I think, and then you unlock the wood dude.
That wood guy wasn't even that good.
But he was like a training dummy come alive. Like
that's what it was.
It wasn't, I don't know. Tekken was crazy.
His name is Mokujin.
Mokujin?
Wow. Are you looking up those facts, or did you pull that from your brain?
No, I just remember. No, yeah, I'm looking at stuff up. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, that is some deep Tekken knowledge.
Did you ever play any Clay Fighter?
I never played
Clay Fighter. Nobody's played Clay Fighter. Am I the only one that's ever played Clay Fighter?
I guess
63 and a third.
On this.
I guess
really?
So. I'm gonna. No.
Anybody who's listening, draw me some Clay Fighter love. Nobody remembers that stuff?
I never got into that.
Oh my god. You know Primal Rage.
Of course. On an island with this.
I played Rage.
Primal Rage.
I played Rage.
Where you can eat the little...
Yeah. I was there was the dinosaurs and the monkeys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you eat the people. That was the coolest part, was eating the people.
Yeah, but it really didn't do anything for you. It was kind of like a little fun treat.
Whatever. Thank you, Injustice, for making me talk about Clay Fighter and Primal Rage.
Primal Rage, I'll talk about it all day.
All day.
I'll spend a whole day.
You spend a full day talking about Primal.
I'll spend a full day on Primal Rage.
What we'll do, that'll be a special. That'll be episode number 2.
Okay.
Is this the Primal Rage cast?
It'll just be me though, right?
The Rage cast.
Welcome to Rage Cast. We just speak about Primal Rage.
Oh my god. So, what the hell were we even talking about?
More dinosaur fighting games.
We were talking about Injustice and how, I'm giving it a chance. I'm giving Injustice a chance. Everyone, come on. Let's give Injustice a chance. Jump on the bandwagon, buy it day one, and then we'll all have buyer's remorse the next day.
Exactly. Because the servers are breaking and have DRM and everything's going to be all screwed up.
So that's what I've been playing. I've been playing Mortal Kombat. Oh, and I've been playing Judgment, Gears of War Judgment.
I'm actually... Dude, get me on Xbox. I'm playing that thing by myself.
Yeah, I was just watching him play, and the multiplayer modes are pretty awesome.
I'm obsessed with Overrun right now.
Yeah, Overrun is sick.
I've been playing Overrun like crazy. It just reminds me of, obviously, it's ripped from Gold Rush, or whatever it is, from Battlefield, but I'm having such a good time playing that mode. Like,
nice.
Yeah. What have you been playing on? Are you playing Team Deathmatch or just the campaign or what?
I know, like literally, I got it last Tuesday. I must have picked it up day one. Mm-hmm. And I have maybe played 6 hours of the story, and that's all I've been able to do. Because Thursday I came home and I was just packing for PAX.
Right. So. Yeah, you were busy. I mean, I played probably an hour into the campaign, and then I've had a minute here or there to play multiplayer. Like, if I'm going to play the campaign, I want to jump into it like a little further, spend some time. But Overrun is just such a good mode. People are pretty upset that they got rid of Horde mode, though, which is kind of a big deal, because that was probably the best thing that 3 had to offer. So I mean, this has been a thing, but you're okay with this? You're okay with the new direction? I'm fine. I mean, I think People Can Fly did a really good job. It's not Gears of War 4. A lot of people, you know how it is nowadays, dude. A lot of people are giving games a lot of flack where it's undeserved. I think the game is really good on its own. I think a lot of people think like that they want Gears of War to head into a new direction, but it's such a solid formula, and then, it's got that whole brotastic thing going for it, whatever, I just think the gameplay is so solid. There's never a better headshot than anything in Gears of War.
I gotta say, it would be nice to have some sort of drastic atmospheric change in the game, because when I started playing 3 is kind of when I started to get turned off a little bit from the games. It reminded me of kind of like Doom a little bit, how just Doom looked the same over and over again. And
Gears of War Judgment reminded you of Doom?
Well, not of Doom, just it gave me that same feeling where I just didn't want to play it again because I felt like I was like DLC.
Just flat textures.
It just felt like, no, dude, come on. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean, but you got to elaborate.
It just felt, a little repetitive to me.
So I got this. You get Gears of War 4, New York City, been taken over by plant life.
Come on, man.
Nature's rediscovering the city, taking it back.
Dude, I just want to see something. I want it to feel different somehow. I just want to. I like the game mechanics. I feel like I'm playing the same game every time, and it's not.
I can agree with you that
I'm a big story guy. I don't do a lot of online playing. I get really into it, and the stories, they kind of feel old to me, and they feel repetitive.
You can get lost in the Gears of War story. You can take it for the face value story that it is, the whole, Dom and Marcus thing, and you can get into even deeper learning the lore and the history and reading the books, but it does lose you at a point. Same thing with Halo. I mean, I can't tell you what a didact is. I have no clue. What's a didact?
I actually So I replayed 3, Gears of War 3 recently to kind of prep myself for Judgment. And actually, I'm trying to think of when I actually played that game. It must have been when it first came out. But I actually had a really good time with it. I actually really enjoyed, it's a very tongue-in-cheek, and I kind of enjoy.
Josh?
Josh.
Wait, Josh, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, we lost everything you said after tongue in cheek. You got cut out. So if you can rewind back to
podcast one,
everybody.
Podcast 1. All right, Josh, tongue in cheek.
I think it's very. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's kind of what I like about it. So.
Oh, okay.
I think if people take it like that and they don't take it to the extremes and they just realize
I'm nitpicking. It's a good game. I'm nitpicking.
No, but I understand what you're saying too. The environments definitely need an overhaul, but obviously they don't need to go to New York City or anything. But
I didn't say. You said New York City.
I'm humbling myself. Why is everybody on me today?
I will say that like I am not ready for a Gears of War 4. A, because that just sounds awful. It's too many ors at the end of words. But like I just, I'm ready for this to be like the closure of that series.
Yeah. Right.
It won't be, but I would like it to be.
Well, with Cliffy B leaving, it makes you wonder where Gears is really headed. I don't. 3 was so solid. I mean, story-wise, whatever, but the Horde mechanic, the 4-player co-op, I love playing that game with my friends. I love it. We'll play bots all day just to hang out and play a session for a while, but it makes you wonder where this is headed. It's the same thing when...
these companies, they beat the shit out of their franchises. They really just milk them dry, and I feel like, teams like that can probably develop something, they can just get off that now and develop something, even better at this point.
Totally.
Well, I mean, Epic is basically reduced itself now to its Unreal Engine. I mean, that's what Epic does is they make the Unreal Engine and ship that out. So yeah, I mean, where do you go from there?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel the same way about, when I played Gears 3 as I do when I played Halo 4. Like, I was just so bored. I got bored. I don't know how you guys feel about Halo 4, but I did not enjoy it at all. I didn't even get through it because it felt so monotonous and so just,
Halo 4 for me was good. Like, I was making fun of the story before, but first of all, for 4, I don't want to get too deep into it, but they got rid of Firefight, which is like the same thing as getting rid of Horde mode. Why would you get rid of that? It's such a winning formula. But with Halo, for me, it's usually like a month and a half, a month on and off multiplayer playing with friends, and then I'm done. Like, it's the real hardcore MLG guys and stuff that really stay on there. Like, if I went on there right now, I turn it off in 3 minutes. I have to throw my controller against the wall. I can't compete.
Like I said, I'm not a big multiplayer guy. I don't play a lot of first-person shooters online. And so when going through that story, again, I just got bored really easily. And I mean, I know some other people, a lot of people might disagree with me, but... I just felt like it was the same shit.
I think a lot of people shared the same sentiment, though, and that's why.
Did you play Reach when it first came out, Gregg?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed that.
Okay. So it really has been beaten into the ground for you because you have been getting it, yearly, bi-yearly, maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas, I didn't play Reach's solo campaign. Not until literally right before 4 came out, because once again I was just like, oh, I haven't played Reach, I should probably go back and do that. So taking that break in between titles actually was really good for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed Reach actually a lot. I thought Reach was a lot of fun.
Reach was great. It was awesome for the campaign arc to get that perspective. But personally, I'm gonna get flack for this, but I think what's it called was the best. ODST.
I'm on the same boat as you. ODST was probably one of my favorite Halo games.
ODST's story, it deviated just enough from the Halo formula to make you love it.
The feel was so good too, the music and the sounds and the
I was gonna say the best thing about ODST is the smooth jazz that you get.
I love that.
Nighttime smooth jazz. You got your HUD going,
and the environments are just so interesting, and it was just like a different Halo game. And I guess honestly, that's what I'd like to see out of a Gears game, just like a little bit of a twist, something to kind of just change it up a little bit and break it up.
That's fair.
I think they hit it with the multiplayer, though. Like I said, I'm addicted to Overrun right now. I think that's such a winning formula for them. That's something that they should carry forward with with whatever game that they take up next. But the single player, I think they changed it enough. I think you got to play it, Gregg. I think you'd enjoy what they did with Gears. Maybe not from an environment standpoint.
Yeah, I'm not really speaking on the new Gears game because I haven't really played it. But I'm just.
Well, and I will say the story, the way that story is delivered in Gears of War Judgment is significantly different from the previous Gears game, and it's in its structure, and
right.
It's got that arcadey feel though that brings a little bit of life to it, and that it's people can fly, and they did Bulletstorm, so it brings a little bit of that fun element where you're trying to hit a score, and it gives that replay value.
Loved Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm is a great game.
Loved Bulletstorm.
Also, not to take us too far back, but I just have to say this one last thing. Halo ODST has Nathan Fillion in it, and that's why it's one of the best Halo games.
Absolutely. He played that part perfectly too, and the model looked like I was watching Firefly. It was great.
So I wasn't trying to sidetrack us.
You did, though. You just did. Let's talk about Firefly now.
Firefly
Let's
podcast.
talk about
Firefly Cast 2001. Go. So take us back. Take us way back. Back to when Josh was just a little boy.
Where are we going right now, John?
Where are we going?
Getting off course here.
I don't know, Josh. So where were we at? ODST, Gears of War.
Gears of War Judgment. Talking about that.
We segued pretty good into that.
We're derailing. We're going back in time.
That's fine. No, we're talking about what we were playing lately. Greg, you've been playing a lot of jumping back into that Counter-Strike game,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. People have been giving me some shit about that.
Little CSGO action.
I'm playing Counter-Strike again.
Yeah, we used to play that when we were 13.
All right.
Nah, a lot of people still play, man. It's fun.
Man. It's something about Counter-Strike, and I was telling you guys this the other day. It's like one of those things. It's like it does something to, at least to me, with like adrenaline. It just gets me going. I think it has to do with like having to wait to play when you die. I mean, it's just like one of those things that it's very competitive, and it's fun. Well, it's a fun game.
They revamped it with like pretty much the 1.6 engine, so obviously everything's on point. Headshots are headshots.
And that's also what's fun about going playing Go and looking at the maps that you played when you were 16, like, and they're all beautiful.
That's true.
And they just did an update on it yesterday or 2 days ago, and they just they totally redid CS Militia, and it looks so awesome.
Is there still poop in the toilet?
I didn't check.
That's all I want to know.
I didn't check for the.
I just want to know if there's shit in the toilet, and you'd open the door, and it makes a really annoying sound.
I don't think it does that anymore.
No, is there sewers?
Yes, there's still the sewers. The sewers are still there.
Okay, I'm in. You got it. Just let me know if there's shit in the toilet.
There's a lot that's different about the map, but they went through and they just balanced it out more, and it's just it's awesome. It's really great. And the new update they also updated a lot of the the gun models and the knife models, stuff like that. It all looks really nice and pretty, and I love that.
Yeah, does it have a flamethrower attachment?
There's no flamethrower attachment.
Oh God. So what else have I been playing? I have playing The Walking Dead. Survival Instinct.
Oh yeah, how bad is that?
It's not. Listen. We're all hating on.
I actually thought it looked fun.
It's fun for the first set that you play through. Like, you play through the first level, and then you play through like a breakdown mission when your car breaks down, and you run through all the mechanics of like picking which survivors you want to go through. They introduce some really cool mechanics, but once you get about like an hour into the game, you start noticing that they're repeating a lot of things, and it lacks polish and depth, because it's not. I picked it up from Amazon for $37, so I feel like I did all right. For people who picked it up at $60.
I mean, if a game is right after release is being sold for $37,
I pre-ordered it for $30. I locked in.
You know you're gonna have an issue.
I locked in at $37. I said, "Give me that," because I knew.
How did you even do that? Like, I mean, to go one beyond, if you can pre-order the game at $37, that is throwing a red flag in the ground.
It's like, do you think the people at Amazon were like, "Oh"?
You should also be slightly concerned that AMC has their name all over the game, but they did not once advertise it on their network during the show.
During The Walking Dead, you figured they'd show it at least once during the. Says AMC on it, and Daryl and Merle are on the cover.
But I mean, that is literally who this game is made for. It's made for the big TV show fans. That it'll just be part of their of their collection. It's
the non-gamers that they're going for. And it just blows my mind. I didn't see one.
That's why it didn't have to be great.
I mean, it's amidst a bunch of big releases, so I'm wondering if they didn't waste the advertising dollars knowing that they were going to make some money based on, well, word of mouth, probably not, but just seeing some advertisements in stores.
Well, and or who's that, that guy who just walks in and is like, oh, God, I don't know, just give me The Walking Dead. I know what that is.
That's all. Exactly. So, basically, in the game, you're Daryl Dixon, and the dialogue's all right. All the voice actors are terrible except for the guy who plays
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. He's okay, but you can tell he's saying those like little snide remarks, doing whatever. So the scavenging, they harped on scavenging. I read a developer interview where they harped on scavenging quite a bit, and it's not. There's nothing in the environment. You can't open anything. Things are strewn about. It's random. I think it's randomly generated usually, but you can't open drawers. Most doors are locked. It kind of suffers from like the early like the late 90s syndrome of video games, or early 2000s, But one game that it would probably surprise people a little bit. It reminds me of Oregon Trail a little bit. And I know that's...
Oh, no, I've heard this comparison.
I know that sounds funny, but it totally does, because when you find people in missions, whatever, marked locations they're called, when you find people there, you do a side quest for them or whatever, you fulfill their request, and then they join you in your party depending on which car you have at the time, if it can facilitate another person to come sit with you. So you can upgrade your cars based on what keys you find. But these people that come with you, they end up being people that you sort of send on missions, sort of like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. They kind of follow that idea. But the things you find in your missions, you can equip these people with. And if they go out on their side missions and they die, you lose your equipment. You can heal them. So it takes it a little...
Do they get like malaria on the car ride to the next location?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You have to like forge a river.
They die of dysentery, and you write butt on their...
Do you get like a tombstone? You get to write like...
Can you hunt?
FUK on it.
There's no. Well, see, that's my only memory of Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trails is better than the Walking Dead game.
Overall, you can buy 500 pounds of butter and set out the Oregon.
Use your whole budget on butter and a bison, and that's it.
You've killed 14,000 pounds of bison meat. You can only take 3 back to
playing Oregon Trail was that I'd always, because I wanted to just shoot stuff. I was
just
7,
ammo.
so I was like,
all
let's
ammo.
hunt. And I just have, like 500 pounds of meat spoiled in the first week of traveling.
Couldn't fit it anywhere on the thing. So it reminds me a bit of Oregon Trail, because I didn't even get to the part yet. When you travel from location to location, you have a choice between two. So to play every place, you'd have to play the game twice. But to go to location, you choose it, and then you choose whether you want to use the streets, the medium roads or whatever they are, and the highways, like main roads and then highways. And based on which, your fuel consumption is going to change, and your car may break down, which you would go into a mission where you'd have to find a battery or a tire or something like that. And that's where the game starts to get a little repetitive. Is the mission where you break down, there's like 2 that it switches between. So you break down your second or third time, you'll be repeating.
Is it always the same like layout depot kind of place?
Kind of. There's like a campground.
They all look the same, and it's like the same.
Exactly. There's a campground where like you either have to find some guy and fight him off. He's defending himself against walkers on top of a truck, or you have to find a battery. But it's always the same campground, like no matter where you are. Same thing. There's like a gas station, and it alternates between the two. So if they had the right team working on this game and they actually gave a shit, this game had a lot of potential with a lot of little cool things that they put into it. But overall, I mean, it's pretty much...
It's a money-making game. It's a money-making game. They put it out, they cash in, they're not looking for...
Yeah, but
they knew this was going to happen. They knew people were going to shit on it.
There's a little bit of love in there.
There is.
Somewhere.
I mean, I played it for like 30 seconds, and I had fun smashing zombies.
That's the thing. It's good in the short game, but I think there's like 16 or 17. I mean, there's quite a few levels. And there's collectibles to go back and get and things like that. Yeah. So, it has all the tropes that a video game should have.
Squirrels.
Exactly. Stuffed squirrels.
Gotta find the stuffed squirrels.
But anyway, that's what I've been playing.
Hate to cut you guys off, but we've been talking for a little while. Maybe we should start talking about BioShock a little bit.
What's BioShock?
I don't know.
Greg, tell us a little bit about...
Did you not do the homework?
Homework?
No, John gives out that homework.
Guys, BioShock Infinite is dropping... I'm going to say Monday night at midnight, but it's Tuesday morning, but I'm going to midnight. So are we excited? Have we been paying attention to everything? I personally change my pants 4 or 5 times a day. Every time I see
a trailer,
a
TV commercial,
a bus advertisement, anything. No, not because of Elizabeth, because I think I'm really excited. BioShock 1 is probably one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game. So... how have we been getting hyped up? Josh, what have you been doing? I actually, you know what? Let's start. Tell us, did you go to the Everything BioShock panel at PAX East?
I did. I went to... so that was very deceptive, the Everything BioShock panel, because it was not Everything BioShock. But what it was they talked about the AI behind Elizabeth, and that was actually really cool. Basically, it's just about building her character, and that was awesome. So basically, when they set out, they knew that they were going to have this companion character that was going to be with you the entire time, and they knew that they had to separate themselves from all the other companion characters. The perfect example that I'm going to use here is when you're playing Zelda Ocarina of Time. or Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina. It's Ocarina, Josh.
I'm gonna screw that up. Here comes the hate mail.
You're killing us.
But like, so when you have that fish princess with you,
Zora, princess.
Jesus. God, here it comes.
One of the greatest games ever made.
So bad. But yeah, so you have her with you, and like whenever you put them down and stop and whatever, and they just stand there and give you the blank stare.
See, now look where you're destroying the podcast from the inside. You're killing us all. Was it? They are the Zora, and she's princess. Oh man, sorry guys.
We're fucked. It's over, man.
Look it up quick.
I'm looking it up.
Hurry up.
It doesn't matter. They know we're looking it up.
Josh, keep talking. Okay. You remember the princess from Zelda?
You got the princess with you, and she just gives you this blank stare, and that's true of any companion character. You bring them along, you stop running, they stop running. You go left, they go
Princess
left.
Rudo.
They don't interact.
Princess Rudo.
Princess Rudo. Who cares? I didn't know that name. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't remember that name. I played that game. I'll tell you what. I played that game many times. One of my favorite games. But you know, if you're gonna comment or tweet about us not knowing Rudo, I think you're full of shit. I think you didn't know either.
You didn't know that. Shit. We're digging ourselves deeper here. Okay, so basically you're saying any kind of escort stuff, like eco or like anything like that.
They just are nothing. They're just it's very easy to remember I'm playing a video game because this person just is doing nothing. Like, they're a wooden board with an animation on them. And so they were talking about in building Elizabeth, they had to make sure that she had a personality that went into the world. Like so that whenever she was moving around, when you were doing something, she would be doing something completely independent of what you were doing. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, and it's getting very techy, but it was very fascinating. Like they were talking about how they had to code things so that she would actually know that was something to pay attention to. It was really, really cool to watch.
Yeah,
that was what the whole panel was.
I read somewhere that there's like, if they laid out the code next to each other, there's like 500 miles of code or something crazy like that.
In Elizabeth?
In the game in general.
Oh, in the game?
Yeah. Stupid fact. I don't know why I said that.
You watch How It's Made on BioShock Infinite? So they talked about how they had to script Elizabeth basically like you were going to play as her. They were saying that's how they wrote her, as if you weren't Booker, you were going to be her. They also almost cut her too, which they've had many meetings about. But I don't mind you being a little techie, Josh. How does she interact with the world you're in?
Well, I mean, so basically like what they had to do was that they had to... So you have the world, obviously, as you're going to see it, with the animations and everything. And they took that and they would have to code over that so that, like, the character would know I'm supposed to be interested in this and, like, walk up to it and, like, touch it and interact with it. And, for instance, they did a thing where, like, she walked up to a bush completely independent. Like, you're off doing your own thing and she'll just start doing this. She walks up to a bush and, like, this bird flies out of it and she gets surprised and... then she like picks a flower from the bush and, walks around with it and stuff like that where it's completely all superfluous. They don't need to do that. She could just follow around and stare at you the entire time.
Right.
But they really did it to just really create that illusion of her being a real person.
So, but it's actually happening while you're not paying attention to her. Like they're not scripted events. They will happen repeatedly or based on what she can interact in the world with, she will interact with.
It's not really scripted. From what they said, it sounds like she will, one time she'll go up to a bush, another time she'll go up to a statue. She will find her own things that interest her and walk around and, interact with those things.
Will that ever distract from combat or anything, or is that usually just on down exploration time?
That's just through like exploration stuff. But then again, in combat, like they were talking about that as well. And they wanted to make sure that, she would know to go look because she will give you stuff in the game. She'll toss you ammo or, health or something like that. And they had to create the AI for her to go and find that stuff. And this is all based off of, they said, the relationship between the big daddies and the little sisters was, they have an AI where they knew they were connected. They knew they interacted with each other. And they kind of used that as a template for, we can do this. We can create AI for characters to know they have a role and a purpose. And that's true of any game, that exists for everyone. But I just thought that was really, really interesting to kind of realize how far it's taken. And this is now going to become a standard. This is what people are going to have to do is, where do we go from here? How long is it before all characters will have this type of development?
Well, it's not the first time Levine compared, Elizabeth to the initial interaction with Big Daddies and Little Sisters, which Big Daddies were also almost cut from BioShock 1.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Yeah. It's like the thing that they should be most proud of, they almost cut both times. Which I think is really interesting. I think that's so cool that we're going to actually get to see, we know that we're going to get to see Elizabeth. And there's a lot more hype than there was for BioShock 1 because obviously the industry has changed quite a bit. But, still going with the theme of Elizabeth, did they show anything about her history? We know she has some kind of special powers going on, something. Her pinky's cut off. She's got a thimble on her pinky. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you give any backstory, or was it purely technical?
No. And they were completely mum on it.
That's great.
I love that stuff.
That's great.
But yeah, and I think one of the coolest things was they had the actresses and the because both there was a vocal actress and there was a mocap actress, and they were both there, and they talked very, very much at length about their process in building the character. I think it's one of the great things.
Did the visual actress move while the actual vocal actress talked?
Like
did they actually act it out? Sorry. Sorry.
Now my train of thought is left the
I
station.
did that on
derailed.
purpose. Remember when we were talking about Primal Rage?
New Borderlands DLC? Is that what we're talking about?
No, I don't know. I don't know enough details about that. But
yeah, so okay, I got my train of thought back. But yeah, I mean, just how seriously these actors and actresses can take these characters and expand on them and breathe life into them. There is now a very, very distinct line between really good voice acting and really bad voice acting, and it is becoming very unforgivable when you have bad voice actors. I mean, think back to, I think it's Resident Evil 1.
What?
And the voice
what
acting
is this?
is so
blood.
awful.
Maybe Chris's blood.
Jill.
The best line in that game
wow,
is when...
what a mansion.
Josh is still trying to talk.
Chris Redfield is in a cell, and Jill Valentine's like, "You'll wait here for me, right?" And it's like, "Where's it gonna go?"
I like, whoa.
Yeah.
You were almost a Joe-Bit sandwich.
So to have these people taking these things...
Josh is still talking.
Having these people take these things so much more seriously is really behooving the industry and behooving these giant titles. So,
good point.
It was a cool panel.
Yeah, totally.
In case you, the master of unlocking,
I have this.
Me and John have actually formed our friendship based on quoting Resident Evil 1. That's pretty much
mostly
what we do.
Scariest moment ever in video gaming. Dogs.
The dogs in the window.
Dogs in Resident Evil 1.
Do you know what we're talking about, Josh? Do you remember that moment?
Yes.
I remember
that moment.
I was a young boy. I just got my PlayStation
a young
for
lad.
Christmas.
Just hooked it up.
I didn't even know what the fuck this game was. I took it.
You had the big box.
I put it in, and I was just walking through this hallway, and these dogs jumped through the window, and I swear to God, I think I might have cried. I don't know. I was terrified. I was scared.
I think your dad came and took pictures of you crying.
Possibly.
And saved them.
He might have yelled at me for it. Hit me. I don't know.
So, the world of Columbia. Let's talk about this a little bit. I'm hoping that Infinite is going to be like sort of the renaissance for gaming because there's so much hype around it and the environments and everything around it that we have so much. We're talking about with Walking Dead. We're talking about some shovelware that's just being pushed out, and a lot of games are following this like, DLC era where half the game is downloadable content, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the game industry is heading in a direction that I don't know if it's favorable, unfavorable. People don't mind it, what have you. But I think Infinite is sort of this beautiful. I could be biased because I love BioShock, but I think it's just this. It's rising up out of the rough to be something different in gaming. That's something that we need, and it shows in the creative director's passion behind it and his unwillingness to move away from ideas that he has in terms of like the religious tone and the writing. I mean, I think we're headed in a really good direction with it. But speaking of Columbia,
this broadcast is brought to you by
BioShock
Infinite.
Pre-order now to unlock the sweet early bird edition pack
with extra guns.
Shotgun
and the game,
upgrade.
The game's already completed for you.
The game's done.
The game.
You start the game at the credits screen.
And that's it. You get all the achievements.
You start with New Game Plus. Order at GameStop.
Sorry.
It's okay. So Colombia as a world, how do we feel about taking it to the sky? Huh? Like that. I was just, that felt like Top Gun. Let's take it to the sky, Maverick. Nobody wants to help me on that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So how do we feel about it? Greg, what are you pumped about?
I'm excited, man. I just again, like I was talking about before, like taking these games to different places to really just look at they're keeping like the similar game mechanics, which are amazing and really fun, and they're just taking it to the polar opposite of where it was, and and as far as I can see, and as far as I've seen, it's just beautiful, and it's so interesting, and that's I could have done another game underwater. I could have, just because I love BioShock so much, and I love the world and the stories that they've created down there. But for them to take it just literally up to the sky,
to the opposite place, basically.
For me, like going back to what I was just talking about in those other games, that's exactly what I need. That's exactly what I want. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be really excited about that, because it's fresh. It's something. It's that same game that you love, and it's just someplace completely different. They got new enemies. There's the new challenges that some new abilities and stuff. It's just going to be a lot of fun, I think, and interesting.
I will say, Greg, that it's, kind of working off of some of the things you were talking about. I do think it's very, very interesting, because BioShock is almost a horror game, in that it's like so suspenseful, and it has these really dark themes. No sun. I mean, there's no sunlight in the entire game.
Right.
Yeah. Then to take it and flip it to BioShock Infinite, colorful. Which is almost always sun. It's bright. You have these blue and vibrant reds that are, kind of colored everywhere. I think that it, like you said, is such an interesting choice artistically for that game. And, I almost had the question, whenever I think about BioShock and BioShock Infinite, is what makes this a BioShock game? Why is BioShock in the title? And obviously the mechanics are similar. Right. The themes are similar. But, it's so beautifully different that it almost doesn't even need BioShock in the title.
Right, yeah.
But it sticks. I mean, we could System Shock. We still have Shock. We have predecessors that go back years and years and years. But like the vigors and the plasmids, that's something that it sticks to the BioShock name. Whatever title comes next, if they do it in limbo, because that's the middle of the two, it's gonna have. You're going to have your plasmids, you're going to have your intricate story, you're going to have your brand new environment to explore. I mean, they set a standard that I think a lot of games... I'm rambling because I have a hard-on for BioShock.
If you're about to say a lot of games are going to have a hard time to read, are you going to say a standard that games are going to have a hard time?
Right, exactly.
And I completely agree, because it's so much easier for a game like, Halo or Gears of War to just... take the same kind of feel, and because it's a winning formula. I mean, it's definitely a winning formula, and people are going to buy it no matter what. But someone like me, and there's I think there's more people like me, and even the people who don't realize it, once they get a dose of this, once they get this same game that they love, someplace completely different, they're gonna start to want that from other things. They're gonna start to want that with these other game mechanics that they like so much.
Listening to a lot of these interviews with Levine and anybody from Irrational, it seems like it's one of the few companies, particularly nowadays, that they have free creative reign to an extent. They give them they just give them everything that they need to make the game that they want to make. I can't say that for sure that they don't cut anything, because they obviously have meetings about it, and people are worried because it is a business. But just to be a creative director like that and be able to see your thoughts be put into, just made into a world, it's just incredible.
And so I'm going to have to actually come out of the closet here and say that
I admire... live?
Wow, this is big for us.
Yeah, I know. This is
a lot of firsts
podcast
today.
one. There's all sorts of drama coming down. But I actually, so when it comes to BioShock 1, I admired it more than I really loved it.
Right.
I'm on. Josh, I'm with you, man. I'm with you too. I will say it too. BioShock 2 was really amazing for me, but BioShock 1 was.
I disagree.
BioShock 1 was something I.
Minerva's Den, maybe.
I like Minerva's Den, but BioShock 1 I definitely admired more than I really got into.
So, Gregg, Josh was talking.
Yeah. Fuck up, Gregg. Come on.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah,
man.
and so when I played it, and I actually came to it maybe like a few years later, playing BioShock 1, and definitely like as I was playing it, I was like, man, this is very, very heavy, and I don't feel like I'm really wrapped up in what's happening here. But at the same time, and it's like watching The Godfather or something like that. Like, you don't need to particularly love The Godfather, but you must understand why it's great.
Right.
And you must understand why it's fantastic. And I will say that one of the best things that BioShock does is BioShock actually set the standard for games as art, like to actually be able to have that conversation.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And so to like point to that and what it did, you know, there's no argument there, and no argument how important it is. And it looks like, and I hope that Infinite continues that trend.
Did you play through 2?
I did not play 2.
Oh,
you should at least play 2 for Minerva's Den. I thought Minerva's Den was one of the best DLCs for the money.
When you say it felt heavy to you, do you just feel like you had a lot to do and you couldn't really focus on the story, or?
No. It just felt like, so, and there was a couple things that I particularly, and not that I didn't like about it, but that didn't particularly grab me.
Right.
The first thing about it is that you're hearing a story for the most part that is a passive story that like has happened already, and you are getting it told to you that you are an active participant in it, but most of it is like you're learning about the history of Rapture,
right,
you know, and how it came to be. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm really excited about Infinite is that, you know, whereas with Rapture you came into a city that was destroyed, in Infinite you are finding the city at its peak and watching it fall apart. And that's actually what I think is the most interesting thing about Rapture is I'm like, I wanted to be there when the splicers got unleashed against the big daddies.
Right. Now that you say that would be a great prequel. Yeah, that would be excellent, actually.
That's been brought up, definitely. That people want to see the fall of Rapture. I mean, I started reading the book. I haven't finished it yet, but it sort of explores that when Ryan first gets down there and starts making headway, and Fontaine comes to be. Spoiler alert. But I usually tell my friends or people on Reddit or anybody that's trying to play BioShock for the first time to get ready for Infinite. It's a little late now, but I tell them you really got to just take your time with it. You really got to take your time. Listen to the audio diaries. Listen to the sounds around you. Play it with Turtle Beaches on or some surround sound. Really, really envelop yourself into the world that's Rapture. If you're running around looking at your objective marker the whole time, you're not going to have fun. You really have to enjoy everything that's around you, because there's so much love tucked into that game in little places that go completely unnoticed by a lot of people I know that have played it.
That's one thing I could say. When I went through the first BioShock, I did not spend enough time getting like really involved in the story.
Right.
I was looking for a game to just
know, I mean, the first time I played it too, it was probably a little simple. The first time I played through it, I mean, you have the game mentality when you're going through it. You want to complete everything. You want to get everything done. Yeah. But I played through it again recently to get a couple of the remaining achievements, and it was just, I really took my time, and I listened to all the audio diaries, and you find bodies of people who were in the audio diaries, and they died based on the story that you were listening to, and you just there's so many small stories mixed into that world that aren't just Andrew Ryan and Atlas and yourself
and I will say that, like, one of the coolest stories about that is I kept finding the diary of that woman that had Andrew Ryan's baby.
Right.
And one of the diary entries, you actually find the place where she had that baby cut out of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an audio
you
diary.
You have to listen to the diary of it. And I think you actually run into her at some point. She's a splicer that you kill somewhere along the line, or maybe that's just even mental. But that speaks to the game. Like, whenever I ran into a splicer, I viewed it as I'm like, this is a person that got fucked up from being down here. That's really, really creepy.
Yeah.
And the other like very visceral reaction I had is I did my playthrough where I was trying to save all the little sisters.
Right.
And as I was doing it one time, like something distracted me. I forget what it was exactly, but I hit the wrong button.
Ooh.
And so it harvested her. But that cutscene when you harvest, like, and it's what they don't show almost. Like, screen goes blank and suddenly there's this red slug writhing in your hands. And I was just like, and like, man, it's.
I decided right in the beginning that I was going to save all of them, and I always have.
Yeah. I'm always efficient. My first playthrough.
I remember when I went because I'm a big Fallout guy, and we'll save this for another discussion.
That's getting kind of late. Next Fallout, we'll talk about.
I could talk about Fallout for hours, but the first time I played through Fallout, I played very evilly, and I did everything wrong. I killed everybody. I blew everything up.
Cannibal.
I stole everything. I was and I was having a lot of fun. But then I realized when I went back and played it as a good guy, the game is even funner. And
but there's people out there. Like a few people listening are probably those guys who.
Yeah, I did both, and I've done it multiple times. I was a bad guy and a good guy, and they're both fun. And the fact that you can decide that kind of stuff, which is another trend that's happening in games, is which I really enjoy.
Is there any decision making in Infinite that we know of? I've done so much research in the game, but I don't think I've seen any. There's no like immediate, like a little sister type thing.
I don't think so. I mean, it seems like there should be, almost because that's one of the very key things that people often talk about with BioShock. And I still got the good ending, even though I accidentally harvested one little sister. I still got the good ending.
It's just one. Yeah, you have to do more to get it.
I love that ending.
Yeah.
I'm nice. That ending's awesome. That ending's really, really good.
Any game that makes you have to like question your own, like morals,
right?
It becomes a much more personal experience.
Spec Ops. I always tell everybody play Spec Ops. It's a great game.
And I think that's something that, again, I'm seeing that a lot more in games, and I love that. I love like having to stop and think about a decision I'm going to make, because it really just brings me into the game a lot more. You know what?
Maybe BioShock and games that came out in, what was BioShock, 2007? 6, around that area? Maybe a lot of games around that time set the precedent for games like Telltale's The Walking Dead, and Spec Ops: The Line, and games where you're pressed to realize who you are through the game. I know it gets a little poetic there, but games like that I hope are the future. I hope that's where we're headed, more so than what we were talking about before. So in Infinite,
I think that there'll always be a niche for it. I think that will always be there. That will always be something that people will ask: is there a choice element? What are my options here?
Some people might not like the pressure, honestly. Some people might not like they might want to just go through the experience and not like the pressure of having to make decisions like that.
I mean, I don't think that they should take them. I feel like you're probably right. There are some people who don't like that kind of pressure, but I feel like that's not an excuse not to put them in the game. Because it's not a huge part of the game. And it's something that I think is really important and needs.
And what it really does, and this is kind of the best thing about games, and that games specifically have in and of themselves, is that they can turn it into kind of a thinking, and not to get metaphorical with it, like you were saying, Johnny, but like it can turn into a thinking man's process. It can turn into something where you're like, how do I actually want to go about this? Playing Telltale's The Walking Dead, like I played that with a friend, and I didn't even make the decisions, because it was almost more fun to have her in the room, and she had to, grieve over what she was going to choose to do. Yeah, it was a lady.
Ooh, nice.
Telltale's The Walking Dead. Chick magnet.
Dude, I sat there and played it with a lady as well the whole time. And I would yell at her. I would get really mad, like, make a decision. Come on. And she wouldn't. But that's why I had to kill Ben. Anyway. Continue. She's sitting right over there. In the background. She's sitting right over there. Shut up. I'm kidding. I love you, baby.
But actually, yeah. I mean, whenever I have other people who aren't gamers come in and watch a game that I'm playing, it's a wonderful litmus test, because, if it's something that they're not interested in or that is kind of blah, they'll just dismiss it. They'll just be like, oh, whatever that is. But with BioShock, that always grabbed attention. People would always be like, the fuck is this?
Right. Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit. So I wanted to get into the aesthetic of Columbia a little bit. How do we feel about this Tammany Hall-esque America,
That's another thing for me is I love, my favorite is early 1900s kind of like late 1800s kind of feel.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite aesthetic for anything. It's really interesting to me, and I've always like really grasped onto that.
I really like how they tied in a lot of the enemies with like American lore, and you have you have the firemen. You have the who are the big dudes with the hand with the chest, the handyman.
Right.
So you got like this American working type. I don't want to say steampunk because that's tried and true.
It has that vibe.
It has a little bit of that vibe, right?
Yeah.
But it's got its own thing. It's got its own thing. I mean, we're trying to. It's like comparing music. You have to use other music to compare to other music, but it's definitely its own thing in a specific way. Especially with sky hooks and. It's just crazy how you can approach the game and fight these crazy enemies, and oh god, can't wait.
I think that one of the things that really I like about this game, or that I'm excited about for this game, is a couple things. First being that even with BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite, they are not doing something that's pandering to a certain demographic. Like, the 1960s aren't particularly interesting in and of themselves unless you really know your American history and know why they're interesting.
Right.
And I say the same thing's true about, choosing 1915 as a year. 1915 to most people, they're like, I don't know. I guess that was the year the Titanic sank.
Right.
But there is a lot of really cool history to people that know it, that know what the country was going through at that time and the Industrial Revolution and, kind of before pre-World War I, coming still kind of out of the Civil War. And actually, one of my favorite things about this game is there's some massive racial undertones that Levine made in that game, and he would not apologize for it. And people are like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And he's like, no, it will be in there. And it's perfect. That should be in there because it's true to the time period. And so they're not trying to make something sexy by setting it in a different time period, like Assassin's Creed 3 with the Revolutionary War.
Right.
They were really specifically just using that time period to relay their message. Well, I thought that was great.
Like you said, it's great that they're capturing a time period that a lot of people really didn't focus on because there's a lot more to explore and a lot more things that might remind you of things that you may have touched on once or twice. Like the early 1900s. We're not doing World War II again. We're not doing, I don't know, help, name something.
The Revolutionary War.
Sure.
What games have you played in the Revolutionary War aside from Assassin's Creed, Josh?
Now I'm in trouble. It's not even using talking about games using it. It's talking about using that period of time that everyone's familiar with. That everyone knows.
It's also kind of like
cool.
a thing that's happening, right? Like that vintage modernism thing, where it's kind of like a perfect time for a game like this to come out because everyone's really interested in that old new thing, and they're kind of doing that in this game.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Yeah,
is that how it goes?
That's it.
That's a good song.
But no, they're kind of like it really has like that old look, and then like you guys said, they're really grasping onto those old ideals, and it still also feels new, in the way they're doing it, which is really interesting.
Oh, to talk about choice, there are choices in the game. I remember because in one of the interviews Levine gave, he said there's a choice at the beginning where you're at a dunk tank and you have a ball. You can either choose to dunk or throw the ball at the announcer, the game announcer. And then that choice has ramifications later in the game.
Really?
Wow.
Like that character will appear later, or like the whole you're gonna have a different ending because you chose not to dunk the guy.
I hope that's the only decision you have to make in the whole game.
That's the whole thing.
You get the bad ending if you dunk the guy.
You dunk the guy. That's it. That's the only thing.
You gotta replay.
You dunk the guy. You get the F ending for that, you idiot. You jerk. You're a jerk. You dunked the guy. Why'd you do that?
That's a Capcom thing to do. So that happens. Oh, never mind. We're not going to get into spoilers. Embargo breaks tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, not for IGN. IGN actually they paid their reviews out right now.
They had it like 5 days ago.
Yeah, they gave it a 9.4, which is I don't know. It's so silly.
Didn't they give Far Cry like a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, I don't know. That's because MIA Paper Planes was in it. I think
it's because
they took shots.
Far Cry paid like a ton of money for that.
You don't know that.
Well, I don't know if you saw IGN's website that day.
You don't know.
I don't know if you saw IGN's
I saw
website
that website. I did.
The whole thing was Far Cry's website. All right,
but
Getting sidetracked.
What's the next topic on BioShock? Let's go through one more major topic and then we'll wrap it up because I don't want to put people to sleep. What else you got, Josh?
As far as Infinite? Or
yeah,
BioShock?
I'm not hosting this thing. You're hosting. You're like the voice among us.
Now?
You're hosting.
We gave you the show.
Exactly. It's all yours. What do you do with it? Do we talk about Zelda Heroes that we don't know the name of anymore?
So we're talking BioShock, and I don't know. I guess I would just kind of say that I am very excited for the story aspects of it, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. My biggest problem with BioShock 1 is that they're talking about a story that's past. I'm excited to get a story that is happening in the future that I'm actually a part of partaking in. And I think that the writing, from what I've seen, looks really good. It looks like it's actually pretty authentic, and I'm interested to see, Elizabeth has these powers. What are these powers? Why are people outside of this world, interested in her? I think that there's a lot of great questions that I hope don't get answered really early, and that you have to continue to find out. Questions are what moves the story forward, and it looks like the ones in this are really good.
Absolutely. I mean, the spoilers are out there, so be careful, but it's been a long time since I've really been excited for a game like this, and it seems like they're going to deliver. I've watched almost every interview out there. I've read most of the articles. I've done my best to stay away from spoilers as much as I can, but I think that everyone's really excited about this. BioShock fans and non-BioShock fans alike. I think there's so many questions behind this game, the way they've hyped it up in such a way, aside from the advertising, obviously, but in a way that it presents itself with such a curious time and such a curious just environment, and who is this girl, and Booker, what debt are you clearing, like what is the Songbird, what are all these things, and I just can't wait to have them answered for me.
The time period in which these games are released in is actually really interesting, comparing 2007 to 2013, and the motifs of the game in that time period. You look at 2007, but it's towards the end of or war in Iraq and stuff like that, and just kind of a period of turmoil in this country. And I think that we're still in one, which is why these games are so interesting, and why looking at America with this and kind of not skepticism, but just with questions is awesome. That's why these games hold interest to people. So
I'm hoping that I don't breeze through it. I think they were saying, how many hours is a campaign, like 12, something like that.
I don't know, but that's size. I don't know. I think it was like 15, 16.
I guess it depends on how you play it. Like I was saying before, if you go through, I'm really going to, after learning about what I learned about BioShock, I'm really going to take my time, mostly because I don't want it to be over soon, because I've been looking forward to it for so long. But I always
found those games to have more than one playthrough, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
That's probably true.
Well, they do have another mode that you unlock when you play through it once. Isn't it called like 1999 mode? I think that's a nod. You play as one of the Backstreet Boys, and you go through.
You have to make it to TRL,
and the whole thing is you find Carson Daly, and there's the Songbird. I can't think of
Songbird is Britney Spears.
Is Britney Spears, and she's trying to protect Carson.
I'll tell you right now, I would buy this game.
Me too. I think we're onto something here.
I would pay $37 on Amazon.
And we brought it back around. Woo! That's how we do it, everyone. We're back at the beginning.
All right, guys. Listen, we're wrapping up. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, because we're going to be giving away some more stuff. Tune in. I'm going to announce the winners, or we're going to announce the winners pretty soon. Pending we can get a couple more people in there. But we got T-shirts. We got fun stuff to give away. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Josh.
Twitter,
next time we're going to get you on video so people get to take a look at
you. Look at that handsome face.
I promise.
Greg, thanks for joining me today and hooking us up with a sick theme song in the background right now.
Hopefully I'll be here every week with you, John.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hope to have you back again.
Thank you.
See you again.
Here we go. Goodbye.